Hi, yesterday I was building a component in a mobile app using React Native. Just normal task, daily task. But this took me some years back when I used to work only with Java and JavaScript. I don't know almost anything else. And then I had shifted to learn anything. So how did I do the shift, and what did I learn from learning a lot of stuff, a lot of tools, a lot of frameworks, and so on? So here is the takeaway. Personally, when I start to learn something, what do I do? So first, I have to focus on the most common, commands or properties or attributes or components, whatever the most common thing on the tool I'm learning. So you have to first focus on the most common stuff, and then after that you start to move out a bit to the next most common, and then the third most common, so that you can learn how the tool is working. Because basically everything is a tool, right? React Native is a tool, Kubernetes is a tool, Java is a tool, Mongo is a tool. All those are tools. And how we use them is what differentiate between a tool and another. That's all. So how do we use React Native? This is what make React Native unique, for example, than Angular. If I use Angular and React Native almost the same way, so there will not be that much like difference on learning. I mean, on learning. So I will just give an example. For example, when we talk about HTML and CSS and the web in general, if I want to learn web, what should I do? So let's take a 1,000 feet back, and then we say, okay, how do I build a web? That is the main target. I want to build a web. And then I will say, okay, to build a web, I must know two things, HTML and CSS. And to build the interaction with the web, I must learn at least JavaScript. Okay, good. So I go one step forward, and then I say, okay, HTML, what should I learn about HTML? I should focus on the most used component on HTML. What are the most used component? You will find, for example, body, header, you will find div, you will find the input, text, text area, I mean. Those are the most known or most used. Then I learn how to use them. That's all. And then when it comes, for example, to CSS, what are the most used properties in CSS to style a component? You will find that, okay, we have two things. First is where the component is located. That's one. The other thing is how it present. So when it comes to locating an element, to locate an element on the web in general, you have to focus on the display and the position and the margin and the padding. Those are the most important. And even in display, we mostly use flex. Flex, this is the most used, and maybe block, most used displays. And when it comes to padding and position and so on, you'll find the most thing which we are using is the positioning. It's the dimension. When the dimension is the most used thing on the in positioning in general. So what are the most used dimensions and so on? In the presentation, you'll find the background, the colors and background and fonts. Fonts, those are the most used. The background, let's say, okay, we will make it a color, a plain color of yellow, blue, whatever the color is. And on the fonts, we will use, for example, the font weight. And then you have, for example, the font size. Okay. So those are the most common used. But for example, the animation. Do we use animation that much? Not a lot. So you can learn animation, but not in the first steps. Do we use, for example, we have self-align. Self-align, one of the attributes we have on CSS. I use it personally in many areas, but it's not mostly used. So this is how I learn a new tool. I focus on the most used stuff, and I start to learn them. And when I am good at them, I start to move to the next most used stuff. It's a process, and it's a long process to move from know nothing to know a lot of stuff, a lot of things. But this is how I learn it, and this technique make me learn a lot of things. Now I know React, I know Angular, and I know Node, I know Nest, I know Java, I know Kotlin, I know Kubernetes, I know Docker, I know many things just by use this simple technique. I move from simple things to advanced things. Another thing is when you are learning, you don't read, just know the concept, listen maybe to some videos or something, and then write code by yourself. You have to type, you have to open your IDE and start to type and start to see mistakes and start to see errors. So if you don't write or type by your hand, you learn nothing. You are not learning. You are just knowing. I'm just knowing that there is, for example, something called Kubernetes. Is it bad or good? No, it's fine. Sometimes maybe you need to know about something. You don't have to learn it. For example, me, I know about cybersecurity. I know about it. I did not try to learn it. Why? Because it's not part of any assignments which I have assigned to or any projects I work in. It's not part of it. So I did not care much to learn it, but I care to know what is going on in this world. So I know about it, but I don't have the experience, or I don't have the I did not try to learn. Okay. Another thing is patience. So if you want to learn something, you have to be patient. You have to be patient. If you are in a rush or in a hurry, you will not learn. You will not learn. Yeah, maybe you will know just scratch every area, but you will not learn. You will not have the experience or the thoughts. How do I do stuff in the right way? I think those are the three key stuff to learn. But just to summary, the first thing is learn the most known, common, used elements, properties, libraries, whatever it is, commands maybe. And after that, this is one thing to consider. The other thing to consider is you have to be, practical guy. You have to write code. You have to try the commands by yourself. You have to do mistakes. You have to set up on local machine and try it. And the third thing is to be patient. Be patient. You don't rush and hurry to know everything. You have to be patient and take things slowly until you are confident about the things you learn. Then you move to the next. I think that's cover everything I want to say today. Thank you.